radio show, and I was so blown away, it almost knocked me over. I couldn't believe that somebody actually bought into this notion that we're not here to make real change happen in the world for the better, to a point where he actually said we're only here to be changed by the world. This is New Age bullshit at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. And people who are believing in that nonsense are completely asleep and don't know at all what it means to be awoken. Because to be awoken means you're doing the work here to change this world right here in the now, where you're at now. From where you're at now. And having to do with that, we can move to the ultimate abdication of personal responsibility, waiting for a Savior to come and rescue us from ourselves. And the Savior doesn't have to be a religious figure, you know. Hey, I praised Jesus as the ultimate anarchist and the ultimate change agent in slides ago. Now I'm going to tell you, you're waiting on that as an external force. You'll be waiting forever, and you'll be allowing evil to just take this place. Okay? It's not about waiting for anything outside of ourselves. The Christ consciousness and energy lives within all of us if we awaken it and then act upon it. Christ was an activist. Just read the stories and the allegorical stories in the biblical texts. He was out there taking action. He was speaking to the lowest consciousness people of the community, trying to uplift their consciousness with his higher consciousness. That's doing the work, you know? Now, we don't want to talk to our family members, you know, let alone the next door neighbor or the people who are, you know, following orders in the military and the police. This idea, and you know, it doesn't have to be a religious figure. It could be Buddha, it could be Shiva, or any of the other traditional saviors. Or you could have a Quetzalcoatl up there, okay? Or it could be the Zetans or the Andromedans, you know, the Galactic Federation of Light. All of these so-called saviors, they're just tripping over themselves to get here to rescue us from our own ignorance. Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, you know, let me know how that's working out for you a decade down the line, and then 2 decades and 3 decades, because you'll still be waiting. Okay? The work is ours to do for ourselves, or we haven't learned the lesson. We haven't learned anything. It's about taking action in this domain, because what happens here matters. Yes. Being awake does not mean that you never experience so-called negative emotions such as anger, sadness, worry, frustration, etc. Okay? The negative emotions are there for a reason, folks. They're not to be purged. This is not the goal of awakening or enlightenment, is to purge all negative emotion and never experience it. If you believe that, you're still asleep. All right? Being enlightened does not mean that someone has purged all negative emotions and exists in a state of permanent tranquility. Sorry about the typo on my slide, I'll fix it later. As a matter of fact, that is probably a surefire sign that you are still asleep, if that's what you believe, that all the negative emotions are there to be purged. Negative emotions are not something that is there to be purged, or they wouldn't be there. Okay? They're there to be felt and experienced and worked with and worked through. They help work you through the situations that we are in. Particularly anger. This is one the New Age movement doesn't want you to have. They don't want anger to be there. You know, the state doesn't want anger to be there either. Okay, because they're trying to keep you tranquil. That's why the state gives you religions. Okay? The entrenched powers that be, the powers that shouldn't be, are the ones who have constructed the religions of passivity. They're the ones who put these religions forward as mind control techniques to prevent people from taking action, to change things and to end the condition of slavery that we are in. So they gave us these religions that just propagate passivity so that we will continue to accept our chains. When righteous and channeled, anger can be a gift. Only when it is both righteous and channeled effectively. So I'm talking about righteous indignation here, okay? The Hulk energy, I like to call it. All right? The Hulk only hulked up when people wouldn't leave him alone and respect his boundaries, respect him as an individual. They kept trying to come at him and come at him and come at him. Wouldn't leave him alone. The first natural law right is the right to be left alone. If you so wish it, you have the right to be left alone by other people. And as the old saying goes, there's only two kinds of people. The kind of people that want to be left alone and the people who won't leave them alone. The people who won't leave them alone are the statists. It's the government and the supporters of it. You know? The other people just want to be left alone and live their lives in peace. So the New Age movement and religion is all about eradication of that Hulk energy because they're trying to tell you all anger is negative. No, it is not. The kind of anger that's negative is when it's completely unrighteous. It's just you're getting upset over what you want, okay? And you're not getting upset over a valid, legitimate reason like, oh, I don't know, human freedom is being taken away, you know? Which, you know, no, oh, I'm sorry, the home football team lost the game today. That's something to get real angry about, you know? Forget about human freedom, though. No, don't worry about that. While non-righteous anger and unchanneled anger, okay, are counterproductive to both individual development and collective efforts to bring about positive change, righteous indignation, when it is channeled productively, can be a major motivation to create positive change in the world. Okay, so this meme over here with Howard Beale from the movie Network, which is a phenomenal movie about the manipulation in mainstream media and how it is basically used as a tool for mind control, which was put out, this allegorical film was put out in the mid-1970s. Is still like a perennial favorite among people who look into topics such as this. He had that tagline in the movie, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore." You know, that's righteous indignation because it was about what was happening to the human condition and our rights. So righteous indignation is positive channeled anger, which is there to be felt as an emotional compass to guide us to the way that we need to go, the right action that we need to be taking to create change in the world. Again, as the saying goes, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. You know, the most enlightened among us feel rage at times. It's there to be experienced. It's not something to just purge and say, I want to feel good all the time. That's not what enlightenment is. And that's one of my other points coming up. If you're not feeling like this now, at the time we're living in, more likely than not, it means you're not truly awake. Because if you don't recognize that's what's really going on all around us, if you even have partially the picture, okay? And the reason that you would feel this condition of frustration that person is displaying there is because you know the people around you are all still experiencing self-inflicted suffering because they don't know the truth, that they are still in ignorance of truth about natural law. Okay? And how that ignorance is leading to the human condition of slavery and perpetuating more and more self-inflicted suffering. Okay? If the condition, knowing how few people really know the causal factors, if that doesn't make you feel frustrated, something's wrong with you. Okay? There's something not quite working right in your emotional makeup if you don't feel that from time to time. I'm not saying dwell in that condition. Believe me, I'd be completely immobilized if I were to dwell in that condition. But I'd also be a liar if I told you I don't feel that way sometimes. Okay? So, being awake does not mean pursuing perpetual bliss in a world that is currently filled with suffering and slavery. Awakening, enlightenment is not about you being happy all the time. You hear so much in the New Age movement, follow your bliss. I was just told this on a radio interview, you know. Mark, you're way too serious. You know, why don't you just follow your bliss? Because the whole world is in a state of complete ignorance and self-imposed suffering and essentially completely immoral and is bringing slavery down upon themselves. So I should just want to go out and be blissful all the time. Not to try to educate my fellow human beings. No. follow your bliss. Okay? I mean, it's so childish. And I'm not putting down the overall happiness and the pursuit of happiness. I'm not saying people don't have a right to be happy. Please don't take my words, misconstrue them to an extreme, and say, he said, if I'm ever happy, I'm an evil person. That's not what I'm saying, okay? There is certainly a role for happiness in this life, and everybody is entitled to happiness, okay? But making that the sole pursuit or main objective of your life, that's called hedonism. And that's not why we're here, to pursue one pleasure after another. While the inequities and iniquities of our world are running rampant, that's not a sign of enlightenment or